This is ACC, I'm MoonieGT, and today it's GT4. Roll the intro.
Low tire pressure, stay away from curbs.
Okay, the GT4 cars are finally here. I was so excited when Kunos announced these cars a while back, and I've been waiting and waiting, and they're finally here and we can race them. I've done very little driving in these because the DLC came out late yesterday for me. But I've basically done 2 laps in the Ginetta, just in a private test, and same another private test in the Cayman, but just 1 lap. So I've basically not driven these cars. But we're starting our first race with the Alpine. I decided to pick this car because it's a small, light, little car, and I usually like those. And I just don't know anything about it. It's a totally new experience for me. So we're at Misano, we're in some light rain, which usually doesn't affect things too much in ACC, but I thought we'd give this a shot. So, as I'm sure you know by now, in GT4 cars in ACC, no tire warmers, so it does take some time for things to come up to temperature to get your grip. And I think in this light rain, it's going to take probably more than a lap to get these warmed up. But I don't think it's wet enough to use wet. I think those would overheat in the light rain, so we're going to have to try to be careful for the first lap or 2 and let some heat build into the tires. But so far, my initial impressions of these GT4 cars, having done like, what, 3.5 laps now, is that this still feels very much like ACC to me. And if you've driven ACC and a bunch of other racing sims, I think ACC just has a different feel to it than some of the others out there. It feels different than Assetto Corsa, which I've never really understood. But this still definitely feels like ACC. For some reason, I was thinking in my head that these cars were going to feel different somehow, and they do, but it's very much ACC, which isn't a bad thing at all. It just, for some reason, I was thinking they would have more of a floaty kind of weight transfer feeling to them. And I don't think they feel as soft and weight transfery. I thought I was going to feel more kind of weight slinging around through the force feedback, and I don't. But especially driving the Ginetta yesterday, I thought it felt like just a little GT3 car. It was definitely slower than the big boys, but the handling, it won't feel foreign to you, I don't think, is what I'm saying. There's not a dramatically different feel to them. But the edges in these cars are definitely softer. I've already had that one little wiggle back in turn 1, I guess, and it's just things don't come unglued as rapidly. So I think you can slide these cars around a bit more. You should be able to catch it a bit better than in the GT3 cars, which kind of have a reputation in ACC for being a little bit punishing. They're incredibly stable cars until you get to the limits, and then things can kind of get out of control pretty quick unless you are on top of your hands. But yeah, this little Alpine feels really nice. It's definitely small. I think being next to these other cars, you can get a feeling for how much smaller it is. I think this little car has is it like a 1.6 liter turbo or something like that? I think it's under 2 liters, whatever it is, but it's the tiny engine. Whoa! It's gotta be. So there's a lot of engineering into this little thing to make it compete with these monstrous V10s and V8s and the rest of the field.
Car on the left.
Yeah, these things feel nice and racy.
Car on the left.
Get a pass in. I think the tires are starting to See, there's some oversteer on the exit and really easy to catch, which is nice. I think it's just more engaging when cars move around a bit more and or if you make a mistake, it's not, you know, Loop City. It's nice that you can kind of more or less keep going in the right direction, even if you've overcooked it into a corner or gotten the throttle too early. I think you can learn a lot from cars that let you do that, because you can kind of correct your mistake, and if you get better at catching those mistakes in these GT4 cars, hopefully you'll be able to catch some of those mistakes in the GT3 cars too. Whoa, there's a big one. See? That wasn't too punishing. Yeah, okay, the tires are still not really warm. I could probably be pushing them a bit harder myself. It's really only those left side tires that are starting to get some heat in them.
Well done, mate. This has been your personal best.
Thank you, crew chief. Let's see if we can hustle this thing a little bit more, get some heat going. But yeah, in the rain, you can still really just feel the great balance this car has. Oh, get it turned. Ooh, a little bit of understeer through there. We've got 8.5 minutes to go. We're quite a ways back from this car, but I'm feeling that we can catch him. If I can actually hit my apexes, that would be nice. We were so far from that one that I had to send it a postcard. Alright, yeah, we can catch up with these guys. Hey, my safety rating is ticked over to 60. I'm slowly working on that. And if anyone wants to come race these GT4 cars in ACC, I'm going to try to, oops, I shouldn't have braked there. I'm going to try to have a server set up for tomorrow morning's live stream. It's really early my time, but if you're in Europe or otherwise, Australia, New Zealand, it should be, I guess it'll be late for those guys, but anyways, we'll be streaming tomorrow morning. And I should hopefully have a server up. So stay tuned for that. And come race. It's open to anyone who can behave and be courteous to other drivers. You don't have to be fast, you just have to, you know, not run into people. Alright, we're catching up here. But yeah, this little car feels really nice. You know, the specs on paper aren't as exciting, perhaps, as that Aston up there, the Beamer. Ooh, and you can really feel the sliding in a good way. These are going to be fun to race. They really are. All right. We're now back in the mix. We started in, I think, 22nd out of 25 or so. So we're slowly moving up. We got a lot of work to do. Wanted to give myself plenty of cars to race, and hopefully to race closely so we can get that safety rating up. Now, I don't know how good my exit was out of that corner, but those cars are pulling away, and I wonder if that's just going to be something that happens to the Alpine, and it's really more of a speed through the corners momentum car compared to some of those other things. We'll have to see. It could easily have just been a bad exit for me. It'll be interesting to drive something like the Camaro or the Mercedes after this. Some of the really big heavy cars. See see how different they feel. See, there's a good example of, I mentioned before about how the ACC AI will often just fold. If you can just start to get your nose up inside of them, they will give you plenty of room, which is nice because you don't want the AI to wreck you out. But it really seemed like the other day when we did that iRacing AI test that, boy, that AI was really pretty good about knowing when you were really next to it and not just giving away a position just because it seemed like you were trying to make a pass. So it offered some really nice racing. So let's see here. Maybe I got a little bit better exit out of that corner. Let's see if the Aston's gonna pull away, and it kind of feels like it is. Down these long straightaways, the Alpine may not have the power. Yeah, I think those, maybe the big engine cars are gonna have more oomph down the straights, but it's really through these corners that you should get a little bit quicker through the corners and hopefully exit with a bit more speed to make up for the lack of outright power. So this is probably going to have a lot more of a momentum car feel to it than some of these other ones.
Great job, man.
Woo. All right.
Car on the left.
Oh.
Clear on the left.
But see, manageable. Too much speed through that corner, but the only thing that cost me was time. It didn't end in tears. And I think that's going to be what these GT3 or GT4 cars are. Just a little bit softer on the edges and a lot to enjoy. And they're probably going to be better cars to learn in to really hone your skills, because you can work on recovery, work on your CPR techniques, your correct pause recover. So we've worked our way up into 13th. We're halfway through the field. We're gonna get a really bad exit out of this corner now. Let's see how much they pull away, because it looks like he already is. Look at the size of that Mercedes compared to this little car. That's hilarious. And that is a pretty big car, really, though. Yeah, you can really feel the car slipping, sliding around in a good way. I'm liking this little Alpine. This is the Miata of the pack for sure. It was really bad through there. What are we doing? A minute and a half to go. This might be the last lap of the race. I guess no, the leader could be far enough ahead. We're still pretty far down the pack. I don't know. Usually Mr. Spotter's pretty good at telling me it's the last lap. Ooh. Drift, but easy catch. Well, I think my senses are still all revved up from driving ACC normally, that once the back end starts to go, you've got very limited amount of time to catch it, or it's too late. These feel a lot more forgiving in that sense. Now, we did get some heat in the tires, but this race is almost over, and in the light rain, it doesn't seem like these slicks had, well, they're not really getting up to temperature. So my tire pressures are way down, and the temperatures of the tire itself they don't even look even. I think the tire temperatures and pressures are so low that I think the tires are probably severely compromised. So you'll definitely need to get a good wet weather setup or at least light wet weather setup for the dry tires if you're a serious competitive racer, because I'm sure we're racing on severely compromised tires right now. Little wiggle. Okay, yeah, that's gonna be it. I guess I missed the last lap call. All right, well that's it. That's our first foray into the GT4 cars. I cannot wait to drive the rest of these. I'm actually really impressed with the Alpine. Ooh, there's the Camaro. As a teenager, I was obsessed with Camaros, so we're definitely gonna have to give that thing a shot. Maybe that'll be next on our list. But thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next week.